Hey everybody, it's Carolyn Elliott.
And I'm Laila Bernard.
And you're listening to the Sleepover podcast.
Where we are utterly awake here in the middle of the day in Pittsburgh at our favorite tea bar.
Bantha.
Sipping on kava, opening that heart as you do.
Opening it up. Gotta open that sucker.
That's right.
Again and again. So today we thought that we would touch on one of the doctrines of our religion, which is that Instagram scrolling is a legit tantric contemplation.
Absolutely. I mean, all the sages of old would agree because as they teach, the whole fucking world is here for your tantric contemplation. Every literal, single, tiny, insignificant thing that happens to you is there to speak to you. And why imagine that the feed of things that you have chosen to follow is somehow not important to your awakening?
It's like Byron Katie says, watching TV is just as spiritual as meditating.
Truly, you are in Plato's cave at all times. You cannot escape from it. And no matter how many screens you put between you and the wall of the cave, you're still just in the fucking cave looking at the wall, trying to figure out what the fuck.
So this is how I experience my Instagram meditation, contemplation practice. So, as many of us are well aware, Instagram can stir a variety of feelings. There's the fun and the joy of seeing cute pictures of people you know and love. There's the dizzying terror of realizing that one of your rivals seems to be rocketing ahead in some form. There's the sneaking kind of feeling that everybody else is doing a way better job of putting a way more beautiful and coherent life together, and you're just kind of failing at it. There's
like secret tunnels of like crush stalking to go exploring in. There's what else? We got, there's delightful memes. There's feeling like other people get you. I mean, don't you feel like when you read a really good meme, Carolyn, like you just feel less alone in the world?
Just so loved.
Just like touched by the hand of God, right?
Yeah, so this emotional roller coaster that perhaps many of us are familiar with. And I think
I forgot one.
Yeah.
When you see some bullshit that somebody has put out about their dazzling perfect life and you know full well that it is not that way, that is a very delicious Instagram experience.
I think they call that Schadenfreude.
They sure do. Or at least knowing something that other people don't know. There's a joy in that. Anyway, the roller coaster of Instagram. So it's good for me when I open my Instagram to begin the scroll that I remind myself that there may be a whole journey of emotions ahead of me as I start scrolling. I will feel a whole microcosm.
Yeah, envy, joy, rage, delight, sadness,
disgust, annoyance, dismissiveness.
And to remember that these are all simply the rainbow flavors of life.
The great cosmic soup.
With the spectrum. And that I don't have to spend, I mean, obviously with the fun, joyful ones, I can savor those. But when those little twinges come up, those little fun little green monsters, boy, it's a little bit loud in the tea shop now. Sorry, everybody. Whatevs.
This is life.
It's just in the tea shop. If you were in the tea shop with us right now, you would also be experiencing this.
Exactly. It's a Yoga Nidra event.
Yeah. So it's possible to experience all of this and just not take it so personally, because it's just like the array of patterns that one experiences.
And like, aren't you fortunate to be holding in your hand like a god, like portal into this like macrocosmic contemplation experience? Like, isn't that a frequency of like delight and wonder that's available to you at any moment when you're scrolling through Instagram, no matter how disgusted you are by the stupid lies of people?
Yeah, it's part of humanity's burgeoning hive mind that we were talking about the other night, is coming into being through social media and through people getting to recognize themselves and be recognized
through the Hall of Mirrors
at a level that was never before possible. Sometimes I think about growing up in the 1980s before computers were really a thing. I mean, there were,
well, we had AOL profiles, but it was just text. Yeah. There were no images. There weren't even fucking GIFs at that point.
And when the internet came and the great door of possibility that opened up, that I might actually be able to find other people to talk to who are into the same things as me. That's another thing. And obviously social media corporations have all of their nefarious doings, that they're trying to keep you on the platform longer so they can get their advertising money. I think there was recently a hearing where somebody who used to work at Facebook talked about how Facebook will amplify negative emotions because it knows that keeps people scrolling longer, and it will even specifically target people who are in some sort of transitional phase of their life, moved to a new city or recently got divorced. It will target them with even the more negative things to keep them scrolling more.
Whoa, all right. Well, the world, reality is a trickster, and when we are in these transitional moments, it is fucking easy to get bogged down by negativity and to see your nightmares coming to pass. So thank you, social media, for amplifying the signal that we might struggle against it.
Indeed. And so, I was saying that it's a lot of folks have negative feelings towards social media in general because of that. Maybe they've quit or they abstain. Totally respect that. But I think it's also, you were talking about, the wonder of having this handheld portal into infinite worlds, I think is in itself anxiety producing, even if you're not specifically having your whatever body image issues activated by seeing something. It's
superiority complex.
It's just this, I think for me, there's almost an inherent inferiority complex in being whoa, I can access all the world's knowledge, and I really want to look at cat videos.
Loving what's true for you, Carolyn, is really the thing. I mean, there is a whole world out there, and we could be exploring it, but isn't it just a portal for exploring our own joy? We could get overwhelmed by all the things that we could do, and that's part of the task of actualizing ourselves, is tuning in deeply to what turns us on, and unfollowing the shit that does not.
Absolutely.
I used to follow, years ago, I started following this Instagram account called This Is a Flesh Prison. Because they made amazing memes about nihilistic depression and just the meaninglessness of everything. And there was a part of me that was really vibing on this sad frequency. And then something happened inside of me where I just was no longer really that excited by this content. I just found it a little sad and a little I felt some heart sickness for my fellows who my there. And realizing it was almost through interacting with that content that I realized I was not there. My changing feeling about that same content that was being produced indicated to me that an internal shift had happened. Whoa, Tantra. Thank you. I was no longer as interested in the same way and the same content. And I almost unfollowed this account. I almost was I don't need this negativity in my sphere. But then something happened as I was about to unfollow it where I was you know what? Actually, the fact that others experience this is something that I do not wish to forget. I actually prefer, from joy, to witness this kind of abject misery and disenchantment with life, both to remind myself how enchanted I have become, and also to keep my sights on all the beautiful souls who have not enchanted themselves, and to be in sympathetic resonance and true compassion with this experience. So this same content that one might find aversive or whatever is potentially you unfollow it because you're actually I'm not getting anything out of this. But there is something to be gotten out of every kind of meme dump that comes into your sphere.
Absolutely. That kind of keeping a finger on the pulse of the collective consciousness is really precious. And maybe we should also say something a little bit about the energy of desire. Because we were just talking about aversion. Like, obviously, Instagram specializes in stoking desire.
We all know how you pose sexy for your Instagram pics.
And, and the products sold and the lifestyles being portrayed and everything.
And the states of consciousness, the rarefied states of consciousness. Mm-hmm. All desire-filled.
Yeah, so how do we work with that desire energy while in the tantric scrolling contemplation of Instagram?
Oh, man. I just noticed the waves of desire washing over me, and especially when I for example, if I see someone's really thirsty thirst trap picture, I really love to notice how much it is righteous to want to be desired and to offer desirable images to the world, and how whatever judgment I have about another person trying to look desirable are only judgments that I have about my own desirability, and just tuning into how we interact with other people's thirst, and other people's shameless whoring, and other people's disgusting selling of their services and their insights, and just noticing that it's all desire of one kind or another, whether it's desire to be seen, or desire to connect, or desire to have community, or desire to make money, or desire to get you to buy a fucking product, or whatever. However we are feeling about other people's desire coming at us is valuable information for how we're experiencing desire in ourselves.
Truly. And I'm thinking about when I have the experience of desire in myself being stirred by seeing something, and how a reflection that I'm working with from our friend Richard Rudd has to do with recognizing that all desires are truly one desire, which is the desire for
union
with the source, with the God,
So embarrassing.
Because it's every little thing, every whatever delicious food, amazing fashion,
beautiful lipsticks,
hot person. Yeah, all good. Why do I want them? Because I really want to fall into the giant love puddle of the ultimate.
And be received by my desire in return.
Yes, and that's what everything else is a symbol of that, or a tantalizing reminder that possibility exists. Sort of in Buddhism, the idea of bodhicitta as this altruistic wish for all beings to awaken. Bodhicitta is also the energy of sexual desire in our bodies. It's called Shakti or Kundalini elsewhere. And thinking about this desire energy is trying to go somewhere. It wants
to be felt. It wants to be ridden. It's a current that will lead to extraordinary places if we only follow the tiny breadcrumbs, perhaps, that we find in our Instagram scrolling. We come across in the search bar, the search screen, all kinds of content, and some of it stands out to us. Following it, maybe we find someone new who has more insight for us, more things that enrich our lives, make them beautiful, make us beautiful. Following that is virtue.
Yeah. And so it's a bit dizzying to be with such wide possibilities, and and it's also
understandable that we looking at this small-end version of the great cosmic soup and feeling we can engage with it and unengage with it and log in and log out. It's a deep portal, an intense portal, and also one that we feel we can get in and out the stream of much more easily than our normal daily lives.
Yeah. So there's that quality of like hyper stimulation to it, or like hyper reward in that, right? Like regular life can be a bit dull just looking out the window, but when you're looking at the scroll, you're looking at this like concentrated, hyperbolic, colorful.
You're looking at the kaleidoscope of the windows that many, many, many other people are looking out of into the world. And like, whoa, isn't that like staring down Krishna's throat into seeing the whole universe?
Yeah, and I think maybe where people get hung up is there's a tendency for the emotions that arise while scrolling to bring in some sort of feeling of separation or alienation.
Inflame the ego, essentially. Bring up all kinds of ego stories. But isn't bringing up the ego stories like the first step to having fucking awareness of them, for God's sake? Like, if we avoid the stories altogether... I mean, that's the route of meditation. That's the route of contemplation. That's the right-hand path, is like eliminating from one's sphere all stories, all influences, all temptations. But that is not what we are about here on the left-hand path. No, sinners, we are going the opposite direction. We're going straight into the heart of temptation, straight into the heart of stimulation. To charge ever forward into what really stimulates us, what really nourishes us, what really tempts us. Because at the end, like Richard Rudd, like all the fucking sages say, at the end of that tunnel of desire is really the like black hole of union with all that is. And if we're avoiding buying those shoes that we think are cute, that Instagram keeps trying to sell us, perhaps that is equal to our avoidance of our union with God. Perhaps.
Yeah, both both intense. So this journey that can be made with Instagram,
Psychedelic journey.
Yeah, I don't know what else I have to say about it. Just that paying attention to oneself and being aware of like what you experience in your body as you are scrolling on down is a good thing.
Any place of resistance or contraction or avoidance or aversion is a wonderful place to begin the inquiry with, like, why does this display of the divine that's being shown to you on your ultra magical cosmic viewing screen, why is that objectionable to you? What about that rubs you the wrong way? Food for contemplation. I mean, as with life, as with the tantric scroll of life, like, there's no destination, there's no reason to be doing it. We just are.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely like something that comes up that's a sense of how do I say, like lackingness, like, oh, I don't have the wonderful Italian vacation vista right now, or I don't have the shoes, or I don't have whatever, I'm not posting as much as this other coach who's like posting way more. How are they coming up with all of this stuff, blah 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 blah. And it is just really interesting to notice, like, there is that part of us that really thinks that it's possible to lack something, that it's possible for us to be separated from the whole bounteous display.
Right? I mean, that's like one very deep contemplation, is that when you are feeling like, oh, because someone else is having this experience, I am not having it, you might tap into like the wonder and gratitude that they fucking posted a picture of it at all, and that you are getting to be there with them in whatever tiny way, and that their like beautiful impulse was to try and share that with you in whatever minute way they could, to try to bridge this gap of separation between themselves and the world. And here we all are in the realm of social media, trying to do what we're always trying to do, which is like be seen and be received and like share ourselves and share our experience and like illuminate more of this like gorgeousness. And if we're looking out at Instagram and being like, ugh, why are people showing me these beautiful things? This makes me feel so bad about myself. Likely you're feeling that way in your normal life when people are showing you the beautiful things that they are excited about. And how does that serve the people around you or your own well-being?
And this reminds me of a practice that I really like, the Brahma Viharas, the God realms. And one of the practices is, what's it called? Is it Narupeka? It's mudita, is sympathetic joy. So the practice of cultivating sympathetic joy for whoever
comes across your feed
is a good one. Because that vibration of like, oh wow, they're experiencing joy now. I hope they experience so much more of it. Is participation in it, and it's endless. Like, we can endlessly participate in the joyfulness of being happy for others. And there's power in that, because it's like we're no longer looking at ourselves as these like contracted, lacking little things, but instead remembering that like we are the heart of God that can wish well for anyone, any time, and be enlarged by that wishing.
True. And like, one of the things that people experience so intensely is this like shame around how much they are scrolling and how much they are hooked into the virtual world of social media. But I think another beautiful Brahma Vihara to give oneself is just like compassion. And to realize that like, once we blip out into union with God consciousness blips us right back in to this world, because God is endlessly scrolling on the feed of your personal experience. And like, you might temporarily log out and make contact with the viewer, and then the viewer is like, yeah, no, we're gonna keep watching. We want to see the content. This is amazing content. I fucking love this content. It keeps me really so engaged, endlessly, eternally, infinitely engaged. God is also addicted to the social media scroll that is you. So do give yourself a little bit of compassion, and remember that, connecting with God will help you to be more like engaged in the scroll of your normal daily life, regardless of how much virtual scrolling on the phone that includes.
It's true. I think that's a beautiful note of wisdom, and maybe we'll wrap up today on that note. So thank you everybody for listening. This has been the Sleepover Podcast.